All right, for today's video review, we're going to start taking a look at the Transformers Legacy Evolution Dead-Eye Duel 2-pack, which is an Amazon exclusive set. Now, this set obviously comes with two figures. It comes with a Senticon Cascade and Senate Guard Autobot Javelin, who are two characters that were exclusive to the IDW comics. I believe that Javelin was a character that showed up as like one of the Caminus Autobots from like Wingblade, I can never remember, from her planet, and she actually did show up in the original IDW continuity, though very briefly, and I don't think we ever actually saw an alt mode for her, but then when they rebooted the continuity in 2019, both Javelin and Cascade were characters that showed up in there, and these figures are really referencing those ones because, you know, the Ascenticons were like the pre-Decepticons versions of the Decepticons in that continuity, and then, you know, Javelin was a Senate Guard. So these two figures are really meant to homage those 2019 ones. I don't think, I tried looking it up, I don't think that Cascade existed before the 2019 continuity, but I'm not totally sure on that. But either way, they're two pretty cool figures. Obviously, we've seen both of these molds before. Cascade here is using the Siege Chromia mold, I think is the first thing it was used for, which in and of itself was kind of a like a redo of the Power of the Prime's Moonracer mold. So we've had this kind of going around for a while. Weirdly, I've only ever had one other version of this mold in Nightbird, so, you know, this is only my second one of it, even though that mold's been, you know, reused a bunch of times. And then Javelin here is actually using the Studio Series Bumblebee Movie RC mold, which I think is a really neat use of that mold because, you know, it was more of a movie aesthetic, but here they are using it as as like a generation style figure, and I think it works honestly pretty well. So I am going to split this video up into two separate videos. I'm just going to look at Javelin today, and I'll look at Cascade in another video, just to, you know, keep it a little bit brief, and so I can actually talk about the figures individually, but that's what they look like together. And briefly, I don't usually talk about packaging for the figures, but, you know, I figured show it off because it's, you know, the 2-pack here, and this is what it looks like. And these two are actually packaged kind of strangely in a way that I don't necessarily mind, but I feel like might not be everyone's preference. Weirdly enough, so like the box, it already threw me off that the box just like opens like this. Like, I don't think I even had to cut any tape or anything. I think it just like opened up like that immediately. And then both of the figures actually, like, they weren't tied down or anything. They were just like wrapped up in tissue paper and just like kept in these cavities, which, you know, obviously for a like, you know, and then, you know, like we've kind of been seeing with the accessories on a lot of figures recently, except, you know, the figures were kept here and the accessories were kept down in the bottom, which was kind of strange. Like, and I was looking at it, I was like, oh yeah, I get it. This is really an online exclusive, right? Because like if this was actually packaged like that, like in a brick and mortar retail store, it would be so easy to just like open it up, steal a figure, and then leave without anyone ever noticing, because they like literally were not secured in here at all. I mean, they were secured in here as in like they weren't really, I don't think, at risk of like being damaged or anything, like from being shipped or whatever, because, you know, they were wrapped up in the tissue paper. Like there was not much that could really happen to them other than like total destruction of the box, but that would pretty much just like ruin everything. The ties would not help it. But I did think it was really strange that they were just kind of like balled up in tissue paper like that and just like kept kind of like loosely in the box. Again, it's not really something I care about because, you know, the figures were fine, there was no damage to them, but I don't know, I could see that rubbing some people the wrong way. Weirdly, I wish that they switched the you know, like this is the inside part, but that's the better, I don't know, that doesn't matter, it's just a box. But anyway, nice artwork on the front there, but I had not seen that type of packaging for like figures like that before, so that was very strange to me. But I don't know, I thought it was kind of worth mentioning. But yeah, we'll take a look at just Javelin here to start off with, and then we'll take a look at Cascade in a different video. And yeah, this is not a character that I had any particular attachment to, but I've got to say, I'm quite taken with this figure. I mean, I already liked the Studio Series RC mold, but this one, I don't know. I feel like it works even better for me. And honestly, like, you know, usually you see problems with like when they reuse molds that, you know, they tend to like, the molds tend to deteriorate over time. Not usually with like a second release like this one would be, you know, like the second reuse of this mold. But Yeah, this one actually feels better in a lot of ways than the Studio Series RC mold. Like all the like little nitpicky issues I had with that mold in particular, and like the way it did or did not rather tab together. This one does not really seem to have any of those issues, and that might be just your mileage may vary. But I don't know. I feel like it works pretty well. They've actually done a kind of surprising amount of remolding on this. The whole like cockpit section here is different. These side panels that tab over the arms are different. The what will be the robot mode chest is different, and then the head in robot mode is different. And I think the rest is the same, but still, that's a lot more remolding than Cascade got. So pretty nice there. And yeah, like I said, I don't think we ever actually saw Javelin's alt mode in the original IDW continuity comics, but in the 2019 comics, she did have a not exactly like this, but a similar sort of like three-wheeled kind of like racer kind of thing with the gun on top. So I feel like this is a pretty good mold to use for that. Now, she does come with a new gun here. It's split into 3 parts. I mean, you can kind of do different things with this, but really it's just one gun that they split into 3 parts, which kind of helps it store in a couple different ways in robot mode. But basically what you're supposed to do is just plug this piece on top. There's just a tab slot connection, and then plug this piece onto the front there and give her this long rifle. And it is really nice. I love it's done in the same purple plastic that she is, but it's painted in this really nice muted gold, which I feel like just looks super nice. And for storage for this, you are supposed to just plug it on top here, which usually I don't really like, but granted, this actually makes it kind of more accurate to her vehicle mode in the 2019 continuity comics, just because she did have the gun on top of her vehicle mode. So I like that. I feel like it works pretty well. If you want to like change that a little bit, both of the smaller pieces do have these slots on the side, which can actually correspond to these on the new sculpted piece here. So you can, you just have to pick one to go on one side and pick one to go on the other. So if you like that better, if you think that's cleaner, you can do that. The big piece of the gun also has that piece, but obviously there's only 2 tabs. So if you wanted to do something like that, then you could do that as well. Personally, I just leave it in the big gun mode all attached. But if you like that look better, you do have some options, which I think is nice there. Honestly, I utilize those a bit more for robot mode instead, but it would have been kind of nice if maybe there was like a separate peg, like maybe in the middle of the gun, so this could sit like further down and a little bit more central on the bike rather than being so far forward. But either way, I feel like it works pretty well. Then if you want, you can have this like rotate around like a turret. It pretty much has free range of movement there. And yeah, it rolls okay. Just like with the previous use of this mold, it is a little bit weird with the front wheels here, how only the middle sections of the wheels actually move. So it never really visually looks like it's rolling. And she also does not have the like fake sculpted extra like half wheels that RC did, which I prefer, because I don't like even minor cheated parts, but it doesn't really look like there are any wheels in the back, which is a little strange, but whatever. In terms of comparisons in this mode, obviously we saw her with Cascade. They've got a pretty similar color scheme here. They pretty much use all the same colors, just in different areas. Here she is for a standard size comparison with Kingdom Sideswipe, just so you can see what they look like together. And then here she is with Studio Series RC, just so you can see what she looks like with the original use of this mold. And yeah, I will say I do kind of wish that she came with the same weapons as RC, because where she kind of misses out is RC actually had something to cover her just kind of like haphazardly folded up hands in the back, and Javelin doesn't. So the hands are just kind of hanging out back there. Like I can forgive it because I like pretty much everything else about this figure, but that is kind of rough that the hands are just kind of chilling back there, just folded in like this, being like, don't look at me, we're not actually here. But yeah, you can see how the front section is different, how the side section that goes over the arms is different there, and then obviously the chest, and then we'll see the head in robot mode. But yeah, no, I feel like it works pretty well in this generation style, even though it was designed to be a Studio Series figure. And yeah, I'll just get this out of the way. These wheels, I always had a problem with these pegging together properly on RC. You can see they always want to kind of like work themselves apart there, and I just don't have that issue at all on Javelin, which is really nice. So it just honestly feels a lot more solidly tabbed into place in most places than RC does. But yeah, to get onto transformation, You could leave the gun on if you want. This is where it can store in robot mode, but I'll take it off just for simplicity's sake. And that's what the vehicle mode looks like without it. But yeah, for transformation, you want to take these side panels here. They tab into the arms and they also tab into the thighs here. So you just want to undo both those tabs and bring these up just like that. And then we can take this entire section, which will be the chest in robot mode, and just rotate it down like that. Straighten out the arms and fold down the hands. Then we want to take this entire front section here, untab it from the legs, and then just bring it up on this armature like this. Open up this like cockpit section so you can take the robot mode head and flip that out on this armature just to kind of, get it started. And then take this section and it'll, untab from this section and then double hinge up. And then these two little tabs right here, I don't know if you can see them, yeah, will tab into those two little slots right there. So you just want to double hinge that up and then kind of work that into place. And then you want to bring this up on this armature. And then these two tabs on the armature will go into these two slots on the back of the body there. Just tab that in place. That's a pretty tight connection there. And then you want to bring the head down. Now, at first, I was having an issue with this that I didn't really remember having with RC, where I would try to tab this into place, and this entire section just like would not really tab into place. Like it stayed okay, but it wasn't actually like locking. And then I realized that the thing that's supposed to be holding this in place is this tab right here that goes into the chest, which maybe was just a little bit of a looser connection in RC, and that's why I didn't have this issue. But what you can do to actually remedy this is what you want to do when you're trying to tab this in is also push down on this hinge, because if you notice, when you try to push it in, it kind of like pushes this up a little bit. So if you push that down and push this in, then you can actually get that tab to lock into place, and then it's a lot more solid. So if you're having that issue on either version of this mold, that's how you solve it. Then you just take the little cockpit section and fold it back up like that. Take these sections, rotate them around, and just sit on the back just like that. Rotate it around at the waist, untab the legs from each other. Then the wheel sections, you want to rotate in like this, and then they're on a little slider on this piece here. So you want to extend them out like that, and then rotate them around like this so that this tab now lines up with that little slot right there. But then before you compress it in, you want to rotate the intersection of the wheel around until this little like cutout piece sits in line with the like, white piece there. It's not really white, it's a light purple, but you know what I mean. And then you can compress it back in and then pull the leg back down. And then you just want to take this leg and then kind of unlock it like that and just kind of bring it up so it can actually sit straight in line with the rest of the leg there. And then just do that on both sides here. Yep, there we go. And then do that. And there we have Javelin in her robot mode. And yeah, I think this works really well. Like I said, I really like the Studio Series RC mold, but I feel like in the Generation style, this figure wears it even better. For one, I honestly, I just love the colors of this character. Again, like I didn't even really ever encounter this character because I stopped reading the 2019 comics before she showed up, and I don't think I ever saw whatever comic she was in, or didn't ever notice her as a character in the original continuity. So I had no attachment to this character, but man, I love the like muted purple and the pink and the blue highlights. I just think it works super well. Here she is with her new head sculpt here, which looks really, really cool and definitely very accurate to the IDW comics. And it's crazy just like how IDW this figure looks, considering it is using a mold that is notionally part of like the live action universe. But yeah, no, I think it works really, really nicely. Obviously, we can give her gun here. She can hold it like that. Though these all split up into separate parts, this is the only handle. So, like, really, this is how the gun has to be. But you can, if you like the smaller gun, do it like that or without that bit. So you've got versatility in terms of like which add-on bits you add to it. But it's not like this can really like Evo fusion and split up into multiple weapons or attach in different ways or anything like that. Like, they're pretty much it's just this gun or variations of this gun. But yeah, she looks good holding it in her hands there, and you can kind of, bend her at the elbow and get a, sort of two-handed pose there. I do sort of wish, I mean, I don't see on this mold how there could have been, but it does make me sort of wish that there was a wrist swivel on this mold so she could actually like have it under slung like that, whereas you kind of just have to
fudge it a little bit, but whatever. And then in terms of storage, you can just peg it back on to where it was in the back, and it sticks up over the top a little bit, but that mostly works. And if you want it to look a little bit cleaner, what you can do is take these sections and actually tab them onto the side like I showed off in vehicle mode, and then they kind of like hide inside of these like backpack sections like that, which is kind of cool. So it's just the big section of the gun under back. I don't think it makes a huge difference, but I don't know, that is a little bit cleaner, and I feel like that's a kind of a nice look there. But yeah, in terms of articulation, her head is on a ball joint, so it can rotate around, gets a pretty decent range there. I can only look up about that much, so you're not really going to be able to get her lying down doing any crazy like sniper poses or anything. The shoulders are on universal joints. They can rotate around there at the base and then rotate out to the side like that. She's got a bicep swivel. She has a double hinged elbow, both a hinge up here and then also down here, like internally on the lower arm there. So you can get a pretty much a full curl with that, which is nice. The wrists can only go in for transformation. She's got a waist cut. Hips can go forward about that far, though they tend to bump into the the waist piece there. Back about that far, out about that far. She's got a thigh swivel. This piece always locks in. She's got about 90 degrees of bend at the knee, and then the feet, they can tilt forward about that far. They can tilt back and just like compress into how they were for transformation, which honestly for the rest of the leg kind of looks cleaner, but I don't know. It's always a little weird that these pieces kind of go with the foot. Honestly, I sort of wish that they left it like that and then just had the foot have its own sort of hinge there, but whatever. And then the feet themselves can tilt out to the side. So all things considered, pretty decent articulation. Like I said, having a wrist swivel would have helped for some of the double-handed gun poses, but they worked with what they had here. And honestly, even for RC, I don't see where a wrist swivel would have fit on these hands. They're so tiny. But yeah, in terms of comparisons in this mode, here she is again with Kingdom Sideswipe. Just so you can see, pretty average size deluxe there. A little bit shorter than he is, but definitely not too short there. Here she is again with Studio Series RC. Just so you can see all the the remolding done there. The head is different, chest is different, these sections are different, and then the part of the backpack is different just because of the what the cockpit looks like in robot or in vehicle mode. But yeah, no, I think that works pretty well. Obviously, just making a few different changes makes it look a lot more like Generations and IDW comics style rather than the kind of more movie-verse style. And granted, the Bumblebee movie designs were definitely more like G1 oriented than like the Michael Bay live action stuff, which is why I like them more. But it's nice to see that it actually works in the Generation style. And then last but not least, here she is again with Cascade, just so you can see how the two figures in the two-pack look with each other. And yeah, I mean, she's definitely the better figure in the pack for me. I mean, it's a better overall mold, and I don't know, I like the color scheme a little bit better. She's got a bit more going on, whereas Cascade is pretty much just the two different colors. But I'll talk about that a little bit more in Cascade's video. But yeah, no, it's a pretty good pack. I honestly like it a lot, and I'm really enjoying this figure. The only thing that I really had an issue with it for a while was not getting that backpack to tab into place, and then once I was able to do that, I was like, oh, okay, great. That was my main major problem with the figure. Now totally solved. Then from there, I guess it's the hands being visible in vehicle mode. Yeah, it's okay. I can live with that. Either way, I feel like she's a really cool figure with a very nice color scheme. It's always nice to get more female Transformers. And she comes with a nice weapon that stores well enough, I think, in both modes. I mean, considering it's kind of made to be part of her sort of vehicle mode design, I think it works pretty well. Even though, normally, I think the gun just pegged on top would bug me a bit more. But either way, I think that it works pretty well. And yeah, that's pretty much all there is to her. If you enjoy my videos, make sure to leave a like and consider subscribing. I do reviews every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday. Make sure to check me out on my Instagram account. That's toys.n.art. And without further ado, here we have Transformers Generations Legacy Evolution Dead Eye Duel 2-pack Autobot Javelin.